All right, welcome back to a Tuesday edition of Three and Out. I am your host, Ryan Kieran. With me this week are Brian at Phillips_SP and Spags, Ryan Spagnoli at Ryan_Spags on Twitter. Fellas, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I should have mentioned last time I was on. It's ironic that's your show name, Three and Out, because it's been a lot. No, I guess not recently, but
Been a lot of them this
the
year.
last time I was on, it was. So
Absolutely.
It's ironic.
Solid. We're doing great. We've got a feisty puppy here that we're dealing with. We got some things going on. Hopefully, it takes my mind off of things and it opens me up, and I'm ready for my first victory of the year.
So let's set the table. We've got two differing levels of matches played to this point in the season, but we've got two winless teams here. Spags, you were on week 2. The other Jets matchup actually was the last time you were on.
I got smoked that week.
It was a rough one. You guys had a tough set of questions. Spags did pitch a shutout. So he's looking to get on the board and get his first win. Brian's been on 3 times now. He lost to Keegan on opening week. He lost to Mark a few weeks later, and then he lost to Keegan again. Was that last week? 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago now.
I'd like to also just kind of give it a little context, Ryan. Geez. I mean, I took Keegan down to the wire. I took Mark down to the wire. We're talking a couple of 100 miles of conquered turf by Genghis Khan is the difference between me having no wins and 1 win. I'm like the Patriots here, where it's like 2 plays, I could be 4-2. You know,
a lot of moral victories for Brian here. And again, to be fair, you did face Keegan twice, who is looking to be the Chiefs of this trivia league.
Everybody starts hot in September. Start hot in September. I'll see you in December.
All right, so let's get right into it tonight because I think everyone wants to go watch the Red Sox. That's why we're doing it on Tuesday, so we're not competing with the game tomorrow night because it's a 5 p.m. start time for some reason. So let's get right into it. Let's get into first down. Patriots play the Cowboys this week. Oh, that's not the right one. Patriots played the Cowboys this week, and it was a wild game. First quarter, everything was looking great. Offense was moving. Defense was performing. Scored 2 first-quarter touchdowns. The offense kind of did their thing that they've been doing recently, where after a few good stretches, they disappear for 1 or 2 quarters, pull it back in the fourth quarter, end up going to overtime. Defense is just gas. Controversial decision to punt, and get the ball back. Cowboys score. Spags, I'm going to start with you. Would you say, in my opinion, this was Mack's best game of the season? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think he was solid. Like he didn't lose them the game. He wasn't the reason they lost the game. I'd be interested to see what you had to say, Brian. Like, it seems like they opened things up a little bit more. It's starting to take a little bit more shots, letting them, throw in a tighter windows, take a chance with them. But yeah, just the end of the game, man. I don't understand. I tweeted out after, I think it was Monday morning, the second half, if Zerline didn't miss that field goal, they would have scored on every single drive. And every drive was an 8, 9, 10 play drive, eating up, 4 or 5 minutes of the clock. Like, I don't understand the decision to punt there or, knee the ball out with 1:20 and 2 timeouts. Like, that was the biggest issue. But in terms of Mac Jones, yes, I do think that was his best game. I thought he played really well versus Tampa. But I think, Brian, I think you had said it too, maybe 2 throws that were off the money. Like he was on the money all day long.
Best game, easily his best performance as a pro. Dealing with a significant amount of pressure. I think the conservatism obviously clearly boils down, and these ridiculous game management decisions clearly boils down to the trust that they have in the offensive line to be able to execute. When you've got the turns, although when they went and put in Onwenu, which we still don't have any clarification on how that whole thing went down. We assume it was because of conditioning. And then that's why he wasn't starting. And then, okay, well, we need you. Let's go. And then he was a rock at right tackle. But yeah, Mack was awesome. Like he was really good. And 2 high throws, the third down to Kendrick Bourne, and then and then obviously the pick 6, which you can't have. But
and not
the
to cut you
last
off,
throw,
why were they throwing that? Was that third down? I'm trying to remember.
No, it was a second down play. It was that. Was that or was that not? I'm getting
I didn't understand why they didn't. I know they were running the ball pretty well.
Yeah, the pick six, I believe, was a second down play, but
like they ran the
I'll
ball
pull up the
pretty
box score.
efficiently. I think that was probably one of their better games running the football too. What was there, 3 and change left? I don't know. Throwing into a tight.
I'll pull it up real
here's the thing with that, like, and particularly when we talk about the overtime decision to punt on your, at practically midfield on 3rd and 3, and I tweeted about this. If you are going into it with the mentality of we are, once we start approaching midfield, it's 4 down territory. It's we need to score. We cannot give the ball back. We were lucky enough to win the coin toss. We can go, if we get a touchdown, this game is over. And as you approach midfield, if you have the mentality of this is 4 downs, you can run it on 3rd and 3. Run it again. And if you don't make it, then you've got a 4th and 2, 4th and 1, worst case. But
and your options are
really
open.
nice.
You could run that again, or you could pass.
Exactly. Everything is opened up for them with this, because all we hear about right now is this limited playbook that Mack is operating with, and we just don't have the amount of plays we want for this personnel group and this personnel group, and the whole playbook isn't opened up, which we get it. But if you go into it with a little bit more aggressive mentality, your playbook opens itself up, and you're able to utilize the run game in spots where it's not so hit or miss. Brandon Bolden gets stuffed, and we have to punt. You're able to do whatever you want there on 3rd and 3. But the one thing you can't do is you cannot punt it to Dallas. No. In a next score wins it scenario. You just can't do it.
And let's at least, I'll be clear for myself. The defense played really well on Sunday. They held the best offense in football. We talked about it last week. Dallas has scored 40 plus in 3 of their past 4 games. They've been up in the 30s or right around the 30s every game this season. They're the best offense in football. They have a top 5 quarterback. They have 2 wide receiver ones. They have very solid depth behind them. Good tight ends, good line, good running game, 2 good running backs. They are the most complete offense in football. And you held them to 10 points in the first half. You went into halftime with a lead, and then they tried to sit on it and win with defense again, which was never going to happen. The Cowboys dominated time of possession. The defense got worn down. And as Spags mentioned, in the second half, they scored on almost every possession. They were in scoring range on every possession, and they were just taking chunks, keeping that defense on the field. It was like the Falcons Super Bowl, where you could just see the Falcons defense was gassed in the second half, allowing the comeback. That's how the Patriots looked. You can't be trying to lean on defense.
Well, it's what we saw in 2019. They did the same exact thing in 2019 with this historic defense, and with Tom Brady at the end of week 17 at the end of the half against Miami, in a game you have to have, and that you end up losing because you needed another possession's worth of offense. You need to put points up at the end of that first half. They don't. They punt on it. They kneel, go to halftime. They end up losing by 1 score, and they end up losing their first round bye, with Tom Brady. So it's like, it's not as if it's just we don't trust this personnel right now situation. The conservative decisions have been going back for 5, 6, 7, 8 years now.
And you think that's an old school thing where the league is kind of catching up? Like, is it time to start questioning that in terms of, their OC and ultimately Bill? I'm not trying to fire up a hot take here, but
I'll fire up the hot take for you.
We've been seeing this for years, like you said, It's aggravating because I think this team is, like you say, I think they're a playoff team. They could, if they're 3 or 4 plays, the what if games, right? Like you don't like to play it, but they're realistically 5, 6 plays away from being 4-2, and they have a playoff roster, and now they're 2-4, and you basically got to run the table here to get in.
I'll fire off the hot take for you, Spags. Bill Belichick used to be the front runner when it comes to aggressiveness. He was the guy that would go for it on 4th and 2 in his own, I
think he's haunted from Indianapolis in when was that? 08?
We talked about it after the Bucs game, or at least I did, with the decision to kick the field goal instead of going for it. He has turned into, it's not just he was aggressive in a time when the league was conservative and the league's caught up to him and passed him at this point. He's actively going backwards in this situation. You look at runningbacksdon'tmatter.com, a great analytics site. You look at any site that evaluates situations where you should go for it on 4th down. Every situation that these analytics tools say that they should have gone for it on 4th down, they haven't gone for it. They have a 0% rate of going for it when they should on fourth down this season, which is mind-numbing.
I am just becoming infuriated talking about this, and I had gotten over it as early as soon as about 6 hours ago. I feel like I was over it, and I'm back, baby. I'm back in it. I'm pissed because it's just simple. It's simple human logical bias. It's simple loss aversion. It's like we all fall victim to it. It's the same reasons why negative news spreads faster than positive news. It's all the same like bias stuff. And it's like, it's so easy to just step back and tell yourself, oh, I'm falling victim to bias here. Why not go for it? If it's a 50-50 situation and we have, we're 2-3 right now and, it's overtime, why not just go for it?
Against the best offense in football that's been controlling the ball, and your defense is noticeably
anyone,
gassed.
put it this way, is anyone complaining if they go for it and don't get it? Right? Like,
no. Dan Shaughnessy.
Bill's comments were
Greg, what's his name?
Bedard. Oh, I thought you were talking about Zerline because that was his comment saying he has a big leg. He can basically hit from anywhere. You need one first down and it's a game-winning field goal. I understand, but
that falls right into the
what did
loss
Dallas
aversion
take
that
over
Brian's
in 25?
Right, yeah. Like they took them like 2 plays to make up.
That's what I mean.
Yards.
With that explosive offense,
if you have the defense you think you have, and that's the reason you punt. Which, by the way, Jake Bailey to the 20, really? Come on, at least execute. And it's not like the punt. It's not like the punt unit has been very successful this year. No. The worst punt unit they've ever had. So, 2 blocks, including one earlier in that game on a 4th and 1, which on that one I get. You punt from your own 43 or 35 or whatever. I get it.
They punted on a 4th and 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is not to say they should have gone for it on all 4, but they're not going for it in any circumstances unless they are about to lose the game.
Correct. And if you think you have the defense you think you have, and it's the reason you're punting, then that's why you should be able to take more risks. Yeah. And people point to the CD Lamb touchdown. Well, look at all these coverages getting blown on the back end by the defense. Well, once you get to the 35, it doesn't matter if you let up a touchdown. You can't let up another 5 yards. That's why they're in cover 0. It doesn't matter. You just at that point you're just trying to make the field goal tougher. And yeah, if you get burned, you get burned. But oh man, I'm back. I'm back in it.
I want to answer this question, and I'll work my hot take into it. Is this the worst game management game that Belichick's ever had in New England? Struggles to think of another one quite that bad, but it probably is. I don't think it's the worst he's had this season. I still think the Bucs game was worse. I fundamentally cannot understand giving the ball back. Best case scenario, giving the ball back to Tom Brady after successfully kicking a 55-yard field goal with your injured kicker with 2 minutes left, needing a field goal.
In a monsoon. So that was like the one. That was the one that I get. I understood because after going back and seeing that final drive and how close they were to just completely imploding. They should have been flagged for 2 DPIs. They should have been. They already had a false start penalty. Mack should have been picked off once or twice, throwing floaters deep outside floaters.
Counterpoint, however, you're playing against a high school JV secondary at that point. The Bucs entered the game with missing 3 of their defensive backs, and then they lost 2 more in that game.
Benefit of the doubt I'm trying to give the guy, and so the big tweet that went around today was the Dave Brown guy, that Dave Brown dude saying, well, I'm sorry, I think maybe I'll go with Bill Belichick, the guy who's maybe seen his team practice in every single situation. And instead of instinctively retweeting it and being you're an idiot, I understand what he's saying. You can't apply I'm okay with not applying Bill Belichick to the models that are they're so primitive right now, the probability models. I understand that, and to give him the benefit of the doubt as opposed to all of the history of coaches that are clearly worse than him, that you're comparing him to those averages. I get that, but he's blown past all of it. It's
not. Hey, the analytical model said he would have. It was 51-49. He should have gone for it here. These are eye test ones where I'm not even considering that. Again, I'll go back to the field goal. I understand I'm on the harsher end of the Nick Folk field goal at the end of the Bucs game, but they set up 4th down there, and I didn't even consider Nick Folk coming out, and then all of a sudden it was Nick Folk's running out. I was like, all right. It's like, what are
I
we
didn't
doing?
know. I didn't know Nick Folk had 56 in the bag.
It didn't even cross
like
my
without
mind.
him on
Saying,
suit.
right. Without an injured player.
About Nick Folk, too. What would their record be the last 2 years without him?
Right.
I'm not even kidding.
No.
No.
No. So here's my take. Bill Belichick, schematically, still has it. Defense is playing great. Decision making, I think it might be time to let go a little bit of the reins there. Josh McDaniels today said, we defer to Bill on that. He has Josh again. It's he's putting his press conference voice on, but he made it clear that these are Bill Belichick decisions on whether to go for it or punt. That he implied he wants to go for it a little bit more. He thinks the offense is capable of picking up that responsibility a little bit more. I
get it. Offensive guys are always going to want to go.
Of course. But when you look at not only the decisions that have been made since, we keep saying since 2019, it's really since like 2017, you started seeing the half and half or the double ups at the end of the half. Those started going away in favor of kneel downs. The way that he's
Aaron Schatz has it back to 2012. 2011, 2012 is when the Football Outsiders numbers have it starting, really.
So you look at the history of these decisions gradually getting less explainable. You look at the personnel that he's building, kind of right. You look at the personnel that he's building indicates that he wants to win a certain type of way, which is running the ball, controlling the clock, and winning with your defense. He went out and he signed 2 tight ends. He went out, he's building up the defense. He's never paid a wide receiver. He's trying to win. He built a team that was designed to win the way that you would win in the early 2000s and in the 90s. And early on, when you started seeing this trend with the big linebackers coming back, the bruising running backs, it's like, oh yeah, the league's going small. Bill's going to go big. It's going to work out great. It hasn't worked out great. His decisions are not backing it up. He's going in the opposite way of the league. And it's, finding a market inefficiency is great, but it's not working.
But I think they have the guys to be multiple on this offense. They've shown the ability to do it. It's just the conservatism is leaking into every facet. It's leaking into the play calling. It's leaking into their limited playbook selection. It's leaking into Mack.
You don't think that goes hand in hand with designing a team around running the ball and playing defense and controlling the clock and dominating possession? It all feeds into itself.
It's that, and then you have a perfect storm of offensive tackle, and offensive line injury madness.
Absolutely.
And then it's like the worst case scenario. So like they don't have the foundation to be able to, for them to feel confident and even thinking about upping the aggressiveness. And it's just like at some point you just have to try it. You just have to, because you're 2-4.
I'm absolutely not saying fire Bill Belichick. He's washed. Brady on any of that.
It's not what I heard.
Any of that.
Not what I heard.
But I would not be upset if some of this decision making started to fall off of his shoulders and onto, I don't even want to say Josh McDaniels, but that's probably who it would be. Or
Steve Belichick.
A dedicated, whether it's analytics guy, someone upstairs that's making these decisions for him and telling him what to do. Because he is now, for at least 3 years, really more like 5, in some situations as far as a decade now, continually gotten less reliable in making them. And it's not a hindsight thing either, I don't think. Because, again, going back to the Nick Folk field goal, these are things that I'm saying before the snap, before they even come out of like a replay. I'm describing that, Patricia.
It's not. Yeah, you're Ryan. You're right. It's not something like it's super easy to be.
I'm just
like,
fed up.
In the hindsight, after it all happens, but it's not as if the anti-analytics faction of the fan base can point to anything right now and say, well, look, right. he didn't clearly go with the analytics here and it worked out great, because it's not happening. It's not, because nothing is going right. There are no areas they can point to and say, look, the conservative decision worked great here. This worked great. Screw the numbers. No.
Spags, you mentioned earlier that you think this is a playoff team. I disagree with you there. I've been hammering on this team.
I
agree.
Roster.
I 100% agree.
So I've been lower on them since the second that they went to Mac Jones, which isn't an insult to Mac Jones. It's just the facts of when you have a not. And again, this isn't an insult to Mac Jones either. He's not a dynamic. He's not like a running quarterback that also has a cannon where he can make plays even though he has no clue what's going on. He has to understand what's going on. to make plays because that's the type of quarterback that he is. And he's going to be a very good one at that, I feel. But that's not something that you find rookie success in generally. And this is an offense where you can hide that and let him kind of game manage it. And now they're at 2-4. The schedule doesn't really let up. It does this week, but in general, it doesn't. I think that because the AFC is terrible, you can maybe get on a run and find that 7th seed. But I don't think this is a playoff team. And if you're not going to be a playoff team, at least be fun. And right now, they are just so boring. Everything other than watching
fun.
Mac Jones progress is just so boring about this team, and I'm exhausted. That's where I'm at. Feed Kendrick Bourne. I'll say it again. He had the 75-yard touchdown, but he only had like 2 targets in the game, 3 targets in the game.
Yeah.
Hunter Henry only had 2 targets in the game. Jonnu Smith had a nice little smoke screen on the second play of the game, and then they targeted him one other time. They're still trying to find their identity, and I'm willing to give them patience on it. It's just so boring in the meantime. It's so boring. I'm just so bored watching these games. This was a thrilling game, and I was still so bored for like 60% of it.
Oh, this game was drunk. It completely.
The first quarter was
smashed.
drunk. The fourth quarter was drunk. The second and third quarters, I was ready to fall asleep.
And then Bill was drunk.
Yeah. All right, let's put a bow on it. Final thoughts from the game, Spags.
I mean, are they getting closer? Like we're 6 weeks in here. Like it was almost their most complete game of the year until the last, I guess, 5-6 minutes, including overtime.
The offense played 3 complete quarters, and the defense played 3 complete quarters, and they just didn't overlap the right way.
I think they're getting there. Their schedule coming up is a little bit like they had a tough first 6 weeks if you look at it, right? Like the Saints, really good defense, good run defense. Dallas is, I think, one of the better teams in the league. Tampa.
They had 3
the Miami
games,
game stinks.
I was going to say
they're an absolute dumpster.
They also had 3 teams that have 1 win this year. So it was kind of it was a roller coaster of a schedule. A lot of,
I guess
I
think
playing the best teams and the worst teams.
I think the Chargers are a little bit a little bit worse than what the record says. Like I like them in that matchup. I know they're going out there. I should get out of October like 2-2 to get to 4. What would they be? 4-4?
Yeah.
Like I guess you can roll the dice and see what happens the last 2 months. I mean, you have to. I do still think they improve each week. Like they're getting there, but I just hope time doesn't run out. Regardless, they'll be a tough out at the end of the year, whether they're competing for a playoff spot or whoever they're playing is trying to get in. Like they'll be a tough out.
And this is, Brian, when we did our schedule preview back in like April or whatever, this was the stretch of the schedule that we highlighted as being just brutal travel-wise. They're home for the Jets this week, and then they're going out to LA. Then they go at Carolina, back home, at Atlanta, back home. That Atlanta game's a Thursday night, and then they're at Buffalo, at Indianapolis. That's your next 8 weeks.
So it's funny. It's funny how like much of a like how tough the schedule, this chunk of the schedule coming up appeared. Obviously, Tampa and Dallas, that is what it is. But like moving forward, you get the Jets. The Chargers is probably the toughest one they've got until the Bills, and then but like Carolina isn't the scary team that we thought they were, 3 weeks in. The Browns can't stay healthy.
If you can
with no Nick Chubb and no Kareem Hunt right now.
If you can steal the Chargers or the Browns, you could get on a little 5-1 stretch here for sure.
All right, and the Browns are the exact the Browns are where the Patriots are at, as far as roster construction and how they want to win. Yeah. And once they're not able to,
are they 3-3?
They've got 2 losses.
They are 3-3. They're 3-3.
Yeah.
Then you host the Titans. The Bills are gonna just.
Yeah,
it's not going to be. I don't want to talk about that.
No, that'll be a tough one.
Yeah.
So,
God.
You mentioned the complete game, Spags, and that they keep getting closer. That was the last thing I wanted to touch on here before we move on, because I mean the Jets Patriots. I think the preview is going to be pretty quick here. I don't know. There's a whole lot to talk about, but people keep talking about moral victories and whether the time for moral victories is over. The time for whether they're worth it or not. I am willing to give moral victories to the players because this is a lot of roster turnover. You got the rookie quarterback. Every game that the players perform better, even if they lose this season, I'm willing to call a win. The offense looked great. Mack played his best game. These are positives take from it. I'm not willing to give moral victories to the coaching staff, however. And this game, the Bucs game, both felt like coaching staff losses where the team played well enough to win. And I think that's what's so frustrating. Because it should be this coaching staff kind of finding and again, they played defensively great. They had great scheme. They were great against the Bucs. They knew how to play them. Tom Brady missed a couple of the chances that he had early, but for the most part, they were locking it down against another very talented offense. They played a great first half against Dallas. So again, schematically, the coaching staff still deserves credit, at least defensively. But decision-making wise, play calling, it feels like both of those games would have been won if this was 15 years ago, Bill Belichick.
Well, and so
making decisions.
Like when you want to put together a complete game, and I'm of the notion that like momentum is kind of just not real, and I know it feels like it is, and for sure you need to keep guys need to get rest. You can't have your defense on the field like you did against Dallas and expect to have good, positive, outcomes all the time. So that's like where the aggressiveness, if you amp it up and you're able to grab another couple of series per possession on offense, and you're not just, it's not so chunky. It's like these Patriots games, they seem so just disjointed and chunky. And like, if you asked me while I was watching it, like, hey, how much time is left? Don't look at the clock. How much time is left and what quarter are we in? Like you can't really, there's no sense of like, there is no like inertia in this, in their games right now. Does that make sense? Am I making any sense at all? Get out of here. That is false. Human beings do not play football. It's all
it's the dots. I
dots.
personally just watch Next Gen Stats dots every day.
Dots, numbers, chemical responses and reactions, and the periodic table. Okay, that's all this is. That's all we're talking about here.
All right,
but no, so I don't know what point I was making there, but like if you allow the offense to just get a rhythm going and keep, and like that's how the Patriots teams of the past were so good. There was a yin and yang between the defense, it seemed like, and now it's just like, oh God, defense, please get out there and bail us out. How many situations has this defense been put in where it's just like, oh my God, here we go again, another pick six, a blocked punt, a fumble. I swear, after every turnover, they give up points, and outside of that, like, they've been outstanding.
All right, let's move it on here. There's no segments this week, so second down is going to be the preview. So we got the Jets coming to New England, 1-4. Patriots 2-4. The Jets, we saw them week 2. It was a 25-6 win. Since then, they lost to the Broncos 26-0, and then they started to turn a corner a little bit. Zach Wilson, your boy Spags, started to kind of put it together. They beat the Titans, a decimated Titans team, 27-24, and then they threw away their London game against the Falcons, ended up losing 27-20, a game they probably should have won. They were on a bye last week. As I mentioned, Zach Wilson looking better. He had easily the worst game of his career to this point against the Patriots. Kind of bottomed out. It was looking real bad. The Broncos game didn't get much better, and then he started to turn around. On the season, he's 98 for a 171, a little over 1,100 yards, 4 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. But again, he's playing a lot better. Played a lot better the past 2 games that he played. Coming off a bye week, gets the extra week to prepare against the Patriots. Mekhi Becton's still on the injured reserve for the Jets. We obviously don't have injury reports yet because that'll be tomorrow. I don't have a whole lot to say about this game. If they lose, it's going to be an absolute meltdown, right, Spags? Like you can't lose this game.
No, I think, like you said, we keep this preview. It's going to be another Patriots-Jets type game. Yeah. I think it's a get-right game. They've seemingly – everyone thought Houston would be that way, and they didn't get right until the fourth quarter. But at home, rookie quarterback, I don't know. And the Zach Wilson comment gets to me because I think if he went to anywhere else, I think he'd be in a much better situation. I think Absolutely. He's talented, he's super talented, but
I think Trevor Lawrence is the only quarterback in a worse situation right now.
You're not wrong. But no, I mean, like I said, the Patriots should win by 20. Like they're much better than the first time they played him, and they handled them pretty well. So
I'm gonna hold the factoid because it's going to come up right away in trivia. But the Patriots lately, they just beat the Jets, and the games are boring, and you don't remember them at all. It's just I remember week 2. My dad and my siblings came over to my house for the game. We watched it, and he's a diehard. He watches every game all the way through. Gets it's week 2 against the Jets, and they're not winning by 4 scores immediately, and he's screaming that heads need to roll. He's the old dad Patriots fan, prototypical. He was like beginning of the fourth quarter, he's like, all right, I'm gonna help. This is just so boring. I have laundry to do. That's the type of games that they play. It's always closer. The game never feels like they're just running away with it, but then they end up winning by 3 scores, and you don't remember anything about it other than Zach Wilson throwing 3 hilarious interceptions out of 4 total. Brian, is there anything that you need to worry about? Anything you're worried about in this game?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
I'm a little worried about the game in general, guys. I'm a little worried about a letdown game. Not a get-right game. I'm worried about...
Had enough of those, though.
3 emotional weeks in a row, 2 devastating home losses, a tough road win against a bad team. Now you've got a team who's fresh, a quarterback off of his get-right game, off of a transitive victory over the Buffalo Bills after they beat the Titans, who then beat the Bills. Jonathan Franklin Myers is awesome. Yes, Keegan.
Well-deserved extension.
I love that dude. And you're right. It is football. There are going to be. It's not going to be like, oh, we're clearly better. It's just all right. We should be up by 7 after the first quarter and 13, right. And then it's not. We know it's not how it works. We know how many times Tom Brady went up against bad Jets teams and they had tight games. They had tight games last year when the Patriots were bad. And Cam Newton had to lead a comeback with a third and 18 conversion and whatnot.
Nick Folk, one of the Nick Folk games.
Nick Folk, yes sir. And
against the winless Jets team.
And you're not going to get the laws of math and the universe, the laws of the dots say you're not going to get 4 turnovers again and just have the game handed to you in the first quarter. So it's going to be knockdown drag out. I think it's going to be a gross game again. I think there's going to be mistakes and penalties because it's two mediocre football teams playing each other, and anything can happen in that scenario. And I don't have any faith that coaching staff's going to put them in a good position to win. I've talked myself into a Patriots loss and a complete fucking meltdown.
Spags, we talked about it week 2 when they played after Mack had that great second half against the Dolphins. What we wanted to see in that game was Mack build on that. And then he didn't. It was a boring game. He was very conservative, but we're like, oh, it's the Jets. They did what they needed to win. It's fine. We'll see where he goes from there. And then it kind of continued against the Saints, and then it continued against the Bucs. And then he started to take those steps, especially that second half against the Cowboys. We started seeing more shot plays. So I'm gonna reiterate that. That's what I want to see. I want to see Mac Jones continue to build off what he showed in that second half, pick 6 notwithstanding, against the Cowboys. He didn't have he only threw 21 passes. I don't have all of the numbers in front of me, but that's got to be one of the two lowest that he's thrown this season after those stretches of like 50-40 attempts. So I want to see chunk plays. I want to see him in rhythm. I want to see them going up tempo, especially early.
I want to see 16 catches from their 2 tight ends.
Yeah. I want to see the preseason playbook. Baby.
I want 20 targets. Playbook. I want 20 targets between Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, and Jonnu Smith. If he throws 30 passes, I want 20 of them to those 3.
He threw 18 or 19 Sunday. Was he? What is he? 15 for?
It was 21. 15 for 21.
Okay.
And maybe get Ramondre, get him vibing a little bit, huh? Little Ramondre vibing. Let's do it.
Jacoby Myers, of the 21, Jacoby Myers had 6, and then no one else had more than 3. Ramondre had 3, caught all 3, 13 yards a catch. Nelson Aguilar had 3. Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith had 2. Kendrick Bourne had 2. Damian Harris had 1. Brandon Ball had 1. That was it. Again, not high volume passing, so no one's going to have a crazy target game. And Jacoby is the safety blanket, right? If things are breaking down or they just need a first down, it's third down, they need the first down, it's going to Jacoby. But Kendrick Bourne is just so dynamic. And what Spags saying, you paid two tight ends big money to be the engine of your offense. And right now, Hunter Henry is like a splash player to a game, and Jonnu Smith is on a milk carton. I'm with you, Spags. I want to see the tight ends get involved. Any final thoughts on this game? Well, don't save your predictions. We'll go out. We'll punt on the predictions.
No, zero thoughts.
If they lose, I don't want to do the show next.
These are the 2 weeks I just dread the most because it's. What do we? I don't even. They have so much turnover each year. You forget who's on both sides of the ball over there. Besides like Jamison Crowder, who's been there for only like 3 years, but feels like 2 decades.
Yep. All right. Let's put a bow on it then. We'll get out of here. We'll do some trivia. Third down. We'll get into the Pick Six trivia competition. Brian, Spags. Again, 2 winless teams. Brian is 0-3. Spags, you're 0-1 with a shutout. But the bad type of shutout. You didn't shut out Pat. Pat shut out you.
You hit me with like 3rd grade geography questions
It was tough questions. However, I
don't want to hear it. Okay.
Brian and Keegan got a few of them in the test show, and they did get like 3 points each. So it was a tough showing. We'll bounce back. I tried to keep these ones a little bit more recent, and I was going back a little far for week 2. All right, Spags as the lower seed here. I'm gonna have you call it in the air. I'm gonna call it flip a coin, heads or tails. Call it in 3, 2, 1.
Heads.
Okay. It is tails. Brian, do you want to go first or second?
I'll take the ball.
Take the ball. You want the ball? All right. So, in case this is the first time you guys are
watching,
we're
gonna score.
In case this is the first time you guys are watching. Keegan. Those Jamison Crowder, Wayne Corbett teams were sick. Okay, so in case it's the first time you guys are watching, trivia, Pick Six trivia competition, 6 rounds, 2 questions per round, 1 for Brian, 1 for Spags. If they get it right, they get a point. If they get it wrong, their opponent can steal, and then they would get the point if they get it right. They're gonna have 30 seconds to answer, and so Brian's gonna go first every round. And at the end of 6 rounds, whoever has the most points wins. If it's a tie, then we have a tiebreaker question. I'm going to pull up a timer now, and then we'll get into it. On the timer. Auto started for me, which is fun. We're going to get the banners up. All right, so make sure you guys are both in the private chat so that chat can play along. And let's get to it. Round 1, the matchup, New York Jets versus Patriots. So these are all going to be questions about the history of the matchup. For Brian, 30 seconds once I finish reading the question. The Patriots are currently on an 11-game win streak against the Jets, their longest win streak against the Jets in team history. Who was the Jets' starting quarterback when the streak began on November 27th, 2016? Who was the starting quarterback of that game?
Bryce Petty.
Final answer?
Final answer.
That is incorrect. Spags, 10 seconds for the steal.
I'm going to get roasted in the chat for that one.
I'm going to go with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Final answer?
Yes.
Spags has his first career Pick Six trivia competition point. Great start for Spags, looking to bounce back here. It was Ryan Fitzmagic. That was not I'll save it for after the round.
Yeah, that's like a turnover. It's like getting the ball and just immediately fumbling.
Throwing a Pick Six to Trevon Diggs.
Yeah.
Kendrick Bourne. Shout out Oliver getting it right in the chat. Spags, 30 seconds for you. Take a 2-0 lead after 1 round. The last time the Jets defeated the Patriots was on December 27th, 2015, a 26-20 overtime win. Which first-year Jets wide receiver who made the Pro Bowl that year had 2 receiving touchdowns in the game? A lot of qualifiers there, so let me reread it. First-year Jets wide receiver made the Pro Bowl that year, had 2 receiving touchdowns the last time that the Jets won against the Patriots. 30 seconds.
I'm forgetting it. I think this guy was a Jet. I'm going to go with Brandon Marshall.
Final answer?
Yes.
It's 2-0 Spags is Brandon Marshall.
Let's go.
This game,
was this the game they didn't punt? Like Slater screwed up the toss?
No, they got it right, and then Belichick kicked because of the wind to start overtime, and the Jets just went right down and scored.
That's right. I knew it was something with overtime.
I think they blew the lead late, too. That was a game that kind of speaks to the Belichick that we're seeing now, where it was just mind-boggling over-conservatism. Oliver's 2-0. Keegan got it right in the chat. Bill Belichick deferred in overtime. Just mind-numbing. Spags, great start for you. 2-0 lead.
Brandon Marshall was sick that year.
Yeah, he was. That was the year, what I was going to say after the last question, but wanted to hold it. That was the year that Ryan Fitzpatrick had like his career year. They were like 10-6 and just missed the playoffs. Brandon Marshall, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Eric Decker was there that year. Yeah. Good team, solid team. Brian. get back on the board. And I will note, Brian is a notoriously slow starter. Both games against Keegan, he was down 4-0 going into the final 2 rounds, and he gets like the next 3 questions in a row. So, category is baseball. Brian, as we were talking about right before the show, famous MLB catcher. Spags, SNHU hockey legend. We'll have hockey coming up later. So, round 2, baseball. For Brian, 30 seconds when I finish reading the question. The Dodgers have made the NLCS every year since 2016, except for 2019. Who was the National League World Series representative in 2019?
That was the Washington Nationals.
Final answer?
Final answer.
That's correct, Brian. You're on the board. It was the Washington Nationals. They were the World Series champs that year.
Scherzer.
That was Max Scherzer, absolutely. Spags, to hold your 2-point lead. The Astros have made the ALCS every year since 2017. So the last time they didn't was 2016. Who was the AL World Series representative in 2016?
Was it? No.
You got 10 seconds.
All right.
You need an answer in 3.
Give me the Rays.
Rays,
I
final
know it
answer?
too, and I just can't think of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not correct. Brian, 10 seconds for the steal.
The New York Yankees.
Final answer?
Final answer.
I'm ashamed in you. It was Cleveland. Soon to be Guardians.
Jesus, I knew it. There's the Cubs. I was trying to think of the World Series.
Yep.
Oh, the Cubs. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Man,
Shout
this
out
is like
to
right
you.
outside my sweet spot. From I told you, 2002 to 2013.
Yeah, we were just talking about it before the show. Brian's like
You
a
knew it. You knew it
2013
too. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're screwed, man.
All right. After 2 rounds, it is 2-1 Spags. Good game brewing here. Round 3 is the Jets. History of the Jets could be anything. Only has to do with the Jets. Any players named is only their Jets portion of their careers. Brian, this one's for you. Rank these former Jets wide receivers based on career receiving touchdowns. Again, only with the Jets. Jericho Cotchery, Wayne Corbett, Lavernius Coles. So I need the order, most to least. 30 seconds.
Wayne Corbett, Jericho Cotchery, Lavernius Coles.
Final answer?
Final answer.
That's incorrect. Spags, 10 seconds for the steal.
Jericho Cotchery, Corbett, Coles.
Final answer?
Yes.
That's also incorrect. It is Wayne Corbett, Lavernius Coles, Jericho Cotchery.
I remember Cotchery had like a 4-touchdown game. That's why I was just
Cotchery. So Cotchery was the longest tenured, but had the least touchdowns. Corbett had 41, Coles had 37, and Cotchery only had 18. It's more of that possession slot guy back when those were a little underutilized. So score stays 2-1. Spags, get a chance to take the 3-1 lead again here, though. Rank these former Jets running backs based on career rushing touchdowns with the Jets. Chris Ivory, Bilal Powell, and Thomas Jones. 30 seconds.
I'll go with Thomas Jones, Bilal Powell, Chris Ivory.
Final answer?
Yes.
That is incorrect. Brian, 10 seconds for the steal.
I think Tom.
Yeah, Jones, Ivory, Powell.
Final answer?
Final answer.
That is correct. We have a tie game. 3 rounds in, 4-4. A lot of scoring. Close game.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
That was a tough one because I think I try to keep one obvious on each end so that you're trying to pick between 2 there. And I think the obvious was that Thomas Jones had the most, which Spags got into place. So let Brian flipping it. Thomas Jones had 28. Chris Ivory had 16. Bilal Powell had 14. So it was close.
Thomas Jones and Chris Ivory were dogs, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Bilal Powell was underrated too. A little nuisance kind of Rex Burkhead do it all. You know, I'm Ahmad Bradshaw type. All right, round 4. Mentioned it before. Here it comes. Spags, Mr. SNHU Hockey. We have a hockey category. It's 2-2. Brian, this question's for you. You'll have 30 seconds once I finish reading it. From 2015 through 2018, the Eastern Conference had 4 straight conference finals go to Game 7. Which team won 2 of those 4?
That would be the Lightning.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Is incorrect. Spags for the steal. Take the lead. And need an answer in 3, 2.
Go give me the Rangers.
Final answer?
Yes.
Needs to be final. That's incorrect. Is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They made it back-to-back
I
years.
knew that, man. Crosby won it. Yes.
Keegan got right in the chat. Keegan's a trivia monster.
He's got Google up. He's cheating.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Spags still have a chance to take the lead at Exit Hockey with the lead 2 rounds left after this. From 2015 through 28. Oh, that's the same question. Sorry. In 2014 and 2015, the Western Conference had back-to-back conference finals go to Game 7. Which team won one but lost the other? So they appeared in both, won one, lost the other. 30 seconds.
San Jose Sharks.
Final answer?
Yes.
That is incorrect. Brian for the lead.
I know it now, too.
The
3, 2.
The Predators.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Yes, incorrect. Spags was
Blackhawks.
yeah, Chicago Blackhawks. They lost to the Kings
They went
and then they beat
3 of 5.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
I
lost to the
lived in
Kings and then they
Chicago
beat.
then, too. That's terrible.
They
I
beat the
I literally
Ducks.
lived there.
That's tough. Brian still 2. Spags still 2. 2 rounds left. Still a tie game.
I made it
Anyone's
through
game.
hockey. Let's
And
go, baby.
we're at the Patriots. So again, history of the Patriots could be anything. Any players named, only Patriots careers. No correct answers on that. A couple Kings guesses, which was close. The goal was to have you picking between Blackhawks and Kings. Okay, Brian.
I forget
Patriots.
the Kings are. I forget the Kings exist as a franchise. The
Don't
Florida Panthers are more in my mind than the Kings.
All right, Brian, Patriots for the lead. The Patriots are 1-6 in their last 7 games against NFC opponents. Which NFC West team did they beat for their only win in that span?
They beat the Cardinals.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Brian has taken the lead. It was the Cardinals last year. Cam's
Missed
surprise
field goal.
game in the second half. Yep, missed field goal. So there's 3-2, Brian. Pressure's on Spags to keep pace here entering the last round. Spags, similar question will be coming to you. 3-2, Brian. Spags. Prior to that 1-6 stretch, the Patriots had won 7 in a row against NFC opponents. Which NFC North opponent did they lose to in 2018 immediately before starting that streak? So they've lost 6 of 7, won 7. This is the team right before that. 30 seconds.
This happened in 2018.
This was 2018 game, NFC North. Ten seconds.
I'm literally trying to think of the 4th NFC North team right now, and I'm pressured because they beat the Packers, Vikings, and Bears that year, and I don't know.
Right, I'm going to need the answer. Give you 3 seconds. 3,
Oh my God.
2, 1. Nothing.
Who is the 4th NFC North team? I'm losing my mind.
All right, I'm going to have to pass to the Bryans.
I'm going to swoop in here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The Detroit
force
Lions.
overtime.
Oh my
It
God,
is.
Matthew Stafford, week 3.
Yeah.
Final answer.
Yeah. That's tough, Spags.
I knew they beat the Packers,
Yeah.
Bears, and Vikings that year, and I was like, who did they lose to?
It's trivia brain. If I just asked you that while we were talking,
Matt
you'd have
Patricia on the
absolutely.
4-wheeler.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I choked, man.
No. It's all right. It's trivia brain happens. So here's the deal. Brian, you have 4 points. Spags, you have 2. We're entering the final round. So Brian, you have forced at least overtime. You need, in order for Spags to force overtime, Brian needs to get this question wrong. Spags needs to steal it, and then Spags needs to get his own question right. If any of that doesn't happen, Brian, you have your first win.
Let's go, baby.
The category is NFL MVPs.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, Brian, for the win, You'll have 30 seconds. 4 running backs have won MVP since 2000. Only one of the 4 appeared in a Super Bowl the year that he won MVP. Who was it?
F.
Still got time. Work through it. Ten seconds.
Sean Alexander.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Brian, you have your first trivia win. It was Sean Alexander. That is a great pull.
I knew that one too. I'm not gonna lie. I knew that one.
That was
because I remember the
Yes.
MVP curse when they talked about
Yeah.
the year Matt Ryan went to the Super Bowl, and I was trying to remember.
I was not
last
solid
person.
on that.
Yeah,
I
I knew it was
quite
Alexander.
remember.
Did you have a second name, Brian, that you were trying to consider? Or were you
No,
just trying
I
to
was
pull
thinking
something?
Terrell Davis, and that was like 1998.
We had Terrell Davis in the chat too. So the 4 winners were Adrian Peterson coming off the torn ACL, LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006, the record-setting year,
But
Sean
never made
Alexander, and then Marshall Faulk in 2000. So I was thinking that you might end up between Marshall Faulk and Sean Alexander if you could pull the names.
That's right, Marshall Faulk. God, that was a sick year.
Yeah. All right.
Sean Alexander popped in right at the end. I was like, oh yeah, he was like. I was trying to think like most dominant running back seasons you can remember. And
Who did they lose to that year? Did they?
Steelers. Yeah,
Steelers,
that was
right.
second year Big Ben.
It was in Ford Field where the Detroit Lions play.
Yep. Because it was Jerome Bettis' homecoming right before he retired.
That 4th NFC North team.
Yeah. All right, Spags, you lost. It was a good effort, though. Only 2 points on the board. You can get a third here. We're going to finish the last question. But it was a good effort. You were really close on a few. You're pulling it together. We'll get you back on in a few weeks. You'll get that first one. I can feel it. So to pull it to 5-3 here, from 1997 to 2000, 3 running backs won MVP in a 4-year span. Who was the only other player who was a quarterback to win in that stretch?
Kurt Warner.
Final answer?
Yes.
Hey, go out on top. Go out on top. This is a 5-3 finish.
99.
5-3 finish. Great game. Great match. 5-3 final. I believe that might have been the same final score as last week. Great game. Brian, you're 1-3. You're on the board. Spags, you called 0-2.
Feels good.
But 3 points, nothing to sneeze at. 3 points, nothing to sneeze at. That was a good. That was a solid matchup. Brian
that's such a shitty loss because I knew the Lions. They're so irrelevant. I couldn't think of it, and I knew Sean Alexander.
This is pretty much the Patriots Jets game.
Yep.
Right here.
I was just gonna
say a couple of
perfect,
not good.
Good battle. Much better than last time. No geography.
Yeah.
I should have got the hockey ones. I choked there.
The geography helps me out. That's big for me. I have to avoid top 40 hits. Current movies, stuff like that. I got to get that. I can't. No.
So I think next week we're gonna have the undefeated matchup, Pat and Keegan. We're gonna have them back on as long as the schedule works out. And then Spags, I think we got to get you back. We'll get a win on the board, maybe against a non-Pat's Pulpit guy. So for those of you wondering, keeping track, at the end of the season, we're gonna be doing a little mini tournament. Keegan, Pat, Spags, Brian will be matching up. So if that tournament were to start today, Keegan would be the 1 seed, Pat would be the 2 seed, Brian would be the 3 seed, and Spags would be the current 4 seed. A lot of season left, though. All of these guys will be on multiple times before the season. Let's get out of here. Let's go watch the Red Sox. We're going to punt here, just like the Patriots do on every 4th down. Brian, give me a score prediction for this week's game.
Let's go Sox. 22-18 Patriots.
Spags, give me yours.
I'm gonna go 31-14.
31-14. All right, I like it.
Get right.
I haven't had a lot of faith in them lately, even in my predictions. I'm gonna put some faith in them here. I'm gonna go 27-10. 27-10. Jets touchdown comes kind of in the 4th quarter. Not really trying.
Works for me.
We got 31-17 prediction in the chat.
Go Sox.
Go Sox. Verdugo, Red Sox. Have a great day. We'll be back. Should be Wednesday again next week. If the Red Sox continue playing, schedule messes with that, we'll reevaluate. But as long as the Red Sox aren't in conflict, we'll be back on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. See you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out. Go Red Sox.